from Old Town Temecula in sunny Southern California. Welcome to the GCN Show.
Welcome to the GCN Show.
Coming up this week, gravel racing is under threat from people taking it too seriously. But fear not, our new rules will save it.
And if that's not enough controversy for one show, we've also got our bang average rider, Cillian Kelly, in it up to his neck.
It's a hell of a race, and it takes hard work to win it. So I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry you can't dream big.
Plus, triathletes have been breaking world records with the help of pro road riders, and we've also got some hot new tech. This week in the world of cycling, we learned that Ollie found the world's steepest road climb and he made it look easy.
My back is in bits. I reckon it would have been even easier if he'd walked up it without a bike. Yeah. But still, fair old effort. Now, we also learned this week that Trek look like they're going to be releasing a new bike soon because the Trek Segafredo men's team was spotted riding a new one at the Criterium de Dauphiné, and it looks pretty aero, so everyone is assuming that it's going to be the new Madonna.
One thing I noticed, which I'm sure you did too, is that this new bike features a hole.
Yes.
Presumably some sort of aero hole.
Yeah, like an A-hole.
Something along those lines, yeah. You'll also notice actually from those photos that no real attempt was made to hide the bike from public view.
No, and it is quite distinctive, isn't it? Team UAE Emirates have done a much better job of hiding their prototype Colnago, but if you've got Tadej Pogacar on your team, it's kind of likely to get spotted, isn't it? And it duly was.
And he must be very pleased to have a new bike, Pogacar, mustn't he? Because he needs all the help he can get to ride a little bit faster.
Those little sprouts of hair slowing him down.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Finally this week, we learned that gravel racing is still trying to decipher exactly what its rules are.
It is. So Unbound Gravel, which is still the blue-ribboned premier event in the gravel racing scene, took place at the weekend. Sofia Gomez Villafane won the women's race. She won by 7 minutes, in fact. And in the men's race, Ivar Slik, who despite the name isn't actually a Bond villain, became the first non-American to win it, and in record time as well.
But his win was not without its controversy, because Slik rode a bike with aero bars.
Yeah. Now, aero bars, it has to be said, are completely within the rules, aren't they? They're just completely against the spirit of gravel.
And if you're wondering what the hell the spirit of gravel racing is, let me tell you. Essentially, it's about camaraderie, isn't it? It's about sharing a post-ride and event beer and barbecue with your arch rivals, who are also your best buddies.
That's right. Now, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, it's quite likely that you'll end up being outcast. So in the spirit of inclusivity, we have taken the liberty of writing down the key unwritten rules of gravel.
We have. So, rule number 1 is, if I can get to it, you are not allowed to win until you've got the spirit of gravel racing.
That's right. Number 2, you're also not allowed to win if you're a World Tour professional, because then you'll be taking it too seriously.
Exactly. However, you are allowed to win if you are an ex-World Tour professional, but only if you win without taking winning too seriously.
Indeed. Now, in order to prove that you're not taking things too seriously, rule number 4 says you will need to post to social media to publicly confirm that you're not taking things too seriously. It will also be a good idea to probably delete some of your rides from Strava so you don't look like you're training too seriously either.
Rule number 5, aero bars are allowed, but they're not allowed.
No. Number 6, you are not allowed to attack through the feed zone. In fact, you must stop at the feed zone with your group of riders, even if you don't need to stop at the feed zone. Although I did find out to my cost that you don't have to stop for very long, otherwise you'll get left behind.
Is that what happened to you, is
yes,
it?
Yes, it is.
Rule number 7, female competitors are allowed to draft behind male competitors, but not if they're their teammates or they're related to them, or even if they just know them.
Exactly. Then number 8, just don't get hung up on rules, because rules are for roadies and gravel is the anti-road.
Or is it? because also the weekend just gone, Nicky Terpstra, who is a current pro with Total Energies and former winner of Paris-Roubaix and Tour of Flanders, won the third round of the Trek UCI Gravel Series in France.
The what, mate?
The Trek UCI Gravel Series.
Oh, yeah. No, we joke. Mathieu van der Poel, of course, he also told us exclusively that he was contemplating the UCI Gravel World Championships later this year.
Although he did off-camera promise not to take it too seriously, didn't he?
He did.
Honest.
Yeah.
We should point out that we are, of course, saying these new rules of gravel with tongue firmly in cheek. But there's no doubt that that part of the sport is going through a transition now.
It is. And you know what? It's fun to watch, isn't it? And it's fine, completely fair that it's going through a transition. It's a new sport, and it's also a sport that's got quite a lot of money pouring into it, isn't it? So the riders at the pointy end of the races are now, on the whole, full-time racers who are paid by their sponsors who will therefore want a return on investment. And whilst there's a fair amount you can do with social media content and the odd video or two, at the end of the day, sponsors are probably going to want results.
And wins, I would imagine.
Yes.
As well. Because I think that any rider finishing about 450th in these races is very unlikely to be making a living from cycling, however good their content or social media presence might be.
Except for Peter Sagan, who finished mid-pack in the 100-mile race at Unbound. But then I think that's because he wasn't taking it too seriously.
Or maybe that was just an elaborate ploy by Sagan so that he can come back to the event next year and win it with proof from this year that he wasn't taking it too seriously.
Clever.
Why so serious?
That was a Sagan impression.
It was, yes, thank you.
Cool.
Just well noticed.
Thanks. Right, I think it's fair to say, isn't it, that there's only one direction in which the top gravel racers are going, and that's to be more professional. But honestly, I don't think it matters really, because it's such a tiny part of gravel racing. It's a mass participation sport far more than it's a spectator-only pro sport. But I do feel sorry for that tiny minority who are stuck in this catch-22 of wanting to race to win, but also not being allowed to be too serious about it. But then it's inevitable, isn't it, with that sponsor pressure?
Well, I think the answer probably lies with influencers. If bike brands just paid more money to people who didn't win bike races, we wouldn't have this problem at all, would we?
No, but I can't help but think, Dan, if the answer is influencers, we'll have a heck of a lot more problems than just that.
True.
We'd be doomed.
I think basically I was just trying to conceive an idea in which I might be able to just race my bike without winning and make some money from it. An ill-conceived idea, I think you might add.
Well, with your undoubted performance in post-race beers, I don't think you'd even need to do the race.
Oh, mate, the camaraderie would be off the scale once I finally arrived.
You could be like a pro post-race beer drinker, couldn't you? They just get you in for that.
I think, going back on topic side, there is an argument to be made that as gravel racing matures, so will the specialisation, to the point where roadies can't possibly compete with those that specialise in gravel racing.
No, I saw Cameron Worth, World Tour Pro for Ineos, say something similar to cycling news actually, and he could only manage 86th at the weekend.
You mean the ex-rower turned World Tour triathlete who can't fix a puncture only finished 86th?
Yeah.
You surprised me, Si. Wow. But no, I mean, if Wout van Aert or Annemiek van Vleuten turned up and took a gravel event as seriously as they were allowed to take a gravel event by the other participants, they'd be in the mix, wouldn't they? Right at the front of the race. And as a spectator or somebody interested in what's happening, as long as the thousands of people behind those two riders or those at the front are still enjoying themselves and having fun, I'd still like to watch it.
Yeah, me too. It's just the seriously unserious gravel pros that will have something to say about it, won't they? But then thankfully Jeff Kabush does seem to have gone quiet of late, doesn't he? Yes. Although Peter Stettiner does seem to be making enough noise for the both of them, but still.
Maybe he needs to make that much noise to get some exposure for his sponsors. So, oof, it could be the end of us, this GCN show. Anyway, as ever, we'd love to know your thoughts on this world of gravel racing. Is it taking itself too seriously? Is it not? Let us know in the comments down below.
That's right. Would you want Wout or Annemiek turning up to gravel races and winning with aero bars? Yeah, God forbid. Let us know in the comments. Right, now we will move on to news of our cycling statistician, uber nerd, but relative newbie to actually bike riding, Cillian Kelly, who is continuing his training for the fearsome Le Tap Tour, which is now a little over a month away, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's next month, in fact. And unfortunately, this week, he's been caught in controversy.
Did he put his height in wrong?
Worse than that.
So I've got 5 weeks to go to the Etap, and training is going okay, I think, and getting good miles in, and basically going up Alpe to Zwift as often as I can. But the big news, I won a Zwift race for the first time ever. It was like one of my big goals, and I did a race for the first time in a while. It was a very short one, 4.4 kilometers, took about 7 minutes, and I won. And I mean, all joking aside, it was actually I felt quite good, because it was one of those races where there was A, B, C, and D category all in together. There was three of us in the D category, but I was able to hold on to the C group, which also contains a lot of B guys, and the other 2 D guys couldn't, so I won. And bit of controversy afterwards, because I put up the results, the list of results that Zwift give you at the end, and it had my watts per kilo listed as 3.3, and I got a lot of comments kind of saying, oh yeah, 3.3, you'll get disqualified from that now, you'll get automatically pushed up to C category because you're cheating. I was like, hang on a second now, this is not how watts per kilo work. Yes, I put out 3.3 watts per kilo, which I'm really proud of, for 7 minutes, but watts per kilo, as it's used certainly in Zwift and in general, is based over an hour. So my watts per kilo is still around 2.3, which in theory is what I'm able to do for an hour. But for 7 minutes, I went bananas, and I won the race. So, you know, to the cynics, the skeptics, that 4.4 kilometer crit thing, D category Zwift race, is a hell of a race, and it takes hard work to win it. So I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry you can't dream big.
Next up, GCN Inspiration, your chance to win one of 3 prizes each and every week. All you need to do is upload your best cycling photos or videos to the app, and we'll pick our favourite 3 next week.
That's right. This week in 3rd place, winning a plant-based cyclist cookbook by Nigel Mitchell, is Dan Durden, who on a family trip to Scotland managed a solo ride. Yeah, I'm with you there, Dan. Over Ben Lawyer's Dam. He said that it's just been resurfaced. The descent was so good, I went back up to have another go. So get out there, he says, and do it before the cars and the weather ruins it. And I tell you what, that does look frankly sublime, doesn't it?
Although it does look like it's been resurfaced with quite an abrasive looking surface, to be honest.
I reckon he's turned up the, the contrast on his photo. Oh, yeah, I reckon he's done a bit
I'm not
of
sure we're
tweaking.
allowed to do that and feature on inspirational photos, but nonetheless, we'll give it to you. 2nd place this week gets themselves a GCN Word logo sweatshirt, and it goes to WD Che. Climbed Mount Graham in Arizona in 40 degrees centigrade heat and loved every minute of it. Hashtag Canadians on holiday.
I thought Canadians melted if it gets too hot. I thought you're like minus 40 and you're all right.
Well, I'll tell you what, you don't know what summer's actually like. 40 degrees C, it's about 62 over here. That's a joke, by the way, about Canadians always telling us that we don't have winters.
That's
here,
true,
in case
yeah.
you're new to the channel.
Yeah, I think they're just tougher than us.
I think they probably are. I think it
Temperature
goes without
doesn't
saying.
matter, yeah. I love that photo. Can I just say, weirdly though, I feel like it's faintly inappropriate to have handlebars touching like that. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what it is about it. It's like
Kind of see
like
what
they're
you
kind
mean
of like-
now that you've said it.
yeah. It gives me, just find it a bit. I might just block that out of my vision. It looks like a mega road, doesn't it?
Does. Reminds me of the
for that.
Gran Canaria trip that we went on, actually.
Yeah.
First place prize this week, though, is a GCN Core hoodie in Atlantic blue, a GCN Core t-shirt, also in Atlantic blue, and a GCN Glass Keep Cup. And it goes to Katie L.
That's right. Behold the most Australian dawn ride ever. Posting on behalf of a friend, so you share your prizes, Katie. We love a good dawn ride photo on a trip around Australia. She has had many amazing sunrise rides, but Uluru must be the most Australian and most beautiful of all. And frankly, that does actually look incredibly beautiful, doesn't it?
It's very Australia, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely amazing. But yeah, so thank you very much for your entries this week. Loads more on the app for you to flick through, and of course keep them coming in so we can find some more inspirational photos next week. Also worth mentioning, given we've been talking about stuff that's available from the GCN shop, cheeky little offer on it, man, isn't there?
There is. You can get 10% off any of our bundles, and that includes the brand new kit design. So if you go for the jersey and the shorts, you will get 10% off the total. So shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com.
And now it's time for cycling shorts.
Cycling shorts now, we're going to start with news of triathlon.
Don't switch off. They were wearing socks.
Yeah.
At least some of them were, weren't
Aero
they?
socks.
This was an exhibition event in which they were trying to beat the long distance Ironman records. So basically sub 7 hours for the men and sub 8 hours for the women, which they achieved. And some.
They did indeed. So Norwegian Olympic champ and now Ironman world champ Christian Blumenfeld finished in a time of 6 hours 44 minutes to become the fastest man ever. And in the women's event, it was Kat Matthews who finished in a time of 7 hours 31 minutes and the fastest woman ever.
Sorry. The main difference with this one was that, I guess much like that Nike sub 2 hour marathon attempt, they basically ripped up the rules, didn't they?
They did, which is saying something because the rules for triathlon, I think pretty much can be written on a post-it note, can't they? At least compared to the UCI's, well, hefty collection of leather-bound tomes that sit in a library in Aigle in Switzerland.
And that post-it note just says, you have to compete in the spirit of triathlon, doesn't it? But basically, drafting was allowed, which made the bike leg particularly exciting.
Yeah.
Now, I would say that of all the competitors trying to beat those records, it was Joe Skipper who'd put and assembled the best cycling squad together. Amongst that group was World Tour pro Alex Dowsett, and then a whole load of amazing UK time trialists alongside them.
Yeah, and aero nerds as well, which all meant that they completed the 112-mile bike course in just 3 hours and 16 minutes, which is an average speed of 55k an hour or 34 miles an hour. And when we had a little snoop at Alex Dowsett's data, he was doing 450 watt turns.
Crikey.
For 3 hours, 16
That is
minutes.
a lot of power and a very high speed for that duration of time. I didn't actually catch it live on the day, but it sounds like that part in particular would have been exciting to watch.
Well, it sounds exciting. Can you imagine actually watching a team time trial for 3 hours, 16 minutes?
No, maybe I'll
No.
catch the highlights
Yeah, I
at
think
some
so.
point. Moving on to, unfortunately, some rather sad news which came out recently. Cycling legend Greg LeMond announced that he has been diagnosed with leukemia. Although in his post, he did say that it is not life-threatening and it is treatable, which is great to hear. But a very big get well soon from all of us here, Greg.
Absolutely. Now, moving on, you'll be aware, no doubt, that the e-bike market is going absolutely bananas at the moment. But did you know it's going so bananas that it's actually causing a measurable decline in oil demand? That's according to research from Bloomberg.
1.5 million barrels of oil per day have apparently been displaced by electric vehicles. And of that, 67% can be accounted for by 2 or 3-wheeled electric vehicles.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that many three-wheelers knocking around, so I'm going to claim that 67% pretty much for bikes, which is great, isn't it? And it's going ever upwards as well. I've actually done 200 miles on my e-cargo bike since February.
What I mean?
Yeah,
Round of
thanks.
applause.
Yeah, not because I'm wanting to necessarily just drop oil demand, but mainly because I don't get stuck in traffic, I don't have to worry about parking, and it's 100 times more fun.
I think I've done almost that many miles on Lorraine's e-bikes with my knees up by my ears. Just through laziness, I think. I do like going down to town on it. Anyway, we're going to go back to Unbound Gravel for a moment. Stick with us again, because it's also a bit of a hotbed for brand new tech, including this year,
3D printed aero bars.
No, including a brand new Shimano GRX group set. Now, Shimano have commissioned a whole load of bespoke bike builders to create frames upon which to hang their new silver componentry, but I must say that this new stuff is limited edition, Si.
Yeah.
Unlike the normal GRX group set, which isn't available anywhere.
No, that's right. Right, more hot new tech now, and Divine Okoroji, who is at Brunel University, has created incredible looking device which is designed to alert deaf cyclists of oncoming traffic.
It does. It's called the Soneer, apparently, and it uses ultrasonic sensors to detect the proximity and location of vehicles behind a rider, which it then passes to that rider using vibrations on the back of the head. And those vibrations will increase intensity as the car gets closer to you.
Yeah, so it's actually an exhibition, isn't it, in London at the minute? Part of
Oxo
the
Tower, yeah.
Beyond Brunel.
Made in Brunel.
Made in Brunel, there we go, which is in London between the 16th and the 19th of June, which coincidentally is also some of the dates for the GCN Festival.
It is, yes, which brings us on to reminding you that it's on very soon indeed, and there are still a few tickets remaining to the first ever Global Bike Festival. Not something you really want to miss, because we've got a whole host of stars going to be in attendance.
Have, that's right, and GCN presenters too, haven't we? No, so Andre Greipel is there, Marcus Burghardt, Paul Voss, who's fresh from his escapades at Unbound Gravel, another ex-pro roadie, not taking it too seriously. We could ask him actually how serious he's feeling, couldn't we?
We could do, yes,
Yeah.
over a beer and a barbecue.
That's right. Speaking of beer, Brewdog
Oh yes,
is going to be there. So the spirit of gravel
how
is
could I forget
sorted.
that? It was the most exciting news ever. We've got sponsored by a beer company.
It's only taken 9.5 years, isn't it, Dan? And then, but personally, actually, it's not the beer, it's the riding that I'm most looking forward to. So road, gravel, mountain bike, and e-bike as well.
So if you would like to know more, head to globalbikefestival.com. And for those of you who've already booked, we very much look forward to seeing you very shortly.
we'll see you next week, in fact.
Crikey, it is, isn't it?
Yeah. What's coming up racing-wise this week, then?
We've got quite a lot on. So the Criterium du Dauphiné runs through to Sunday. The Women's Tour, which is live for the very first time, runs through to Saturday, but the Queen Stage is on Friday up Black Mountain in Wales. We have the Elstead Ronda, I think it is, on Saturday. Sunday. Omloop Hageland, or something along those lines, on Saturday. I'm stumbling here, but the Tour de Suisse starts on Sunday, and arguably that's got a better feel than the Dauphiné this year.
Really? Whoa, cool. And then the other thing you'll be able to find on GCN Plus this week, our latest documentary released is called The Weight of the Peloton. Connor has gone and investigated the peloton's fairly fractious relationship with body weight and disordered eating. So it's a really, really good one, that one. So do make sure you check it out.
When you step out into the real world, that you realise that your habits for eating aren't normal.
I'm talking to past and present professionals to see if the peloton's attitude to food and weight is changing.
How is possible in 2022 do the same thing of 10 or 15 years ago?
And where does the responsibility lie? Is enough being done, or is the peloton leaving casualties in its wake?
My immune system took a massive hit in that first year. Because I was super driven, I was like kind of ignoring the signs that I was feeling absolutely ruined.
Hack/Bodge of the week, starting with Johnny Biker 65. On the go coffee cup holder. Saw this at the local Tim Hortons in Renfrew, Ontario. The gentleman who owns the bike says he does not use it to drink while riding. Rather, it's used as a holder for his Timmy's coffee between short rides between errands.
I'm trying to think why that might be an idea. I mean, I suppose you can't hold it, you can't put it in your water bottle cage. It just looks really dodgy. Do you think you need suspension on your coffee cup holder?
It does look like it might spill all over the place if you take it over anything that's a bit uneven. But I think you're right. You don't really want to just hold it as you're taking it away to wherever you want to go to, and you don't want it in your bottle cage. So I'm going hack.
Okay, I'm going to say, because it is a disposable coffee cup, it's Bodge.
Okay.
I'm going to stick to my guns.
Well, 55% agree with you, so I 45% with me.
Excellent. Right then, it's nicely executed, by the way, can we just say. Next up, we've got this one from Uphill Spin. Custom made, very nice, custom made cycling mugs by my wife. How cool is that? A couple of years ago, my wife attended a pottery course and subsequently made these after continuing to build on this experience. Features glazed mountain ranges and bike decals carved in. That's so cool.
They're very cool. It's a hack from me.
Yeah, hack from me as well. There's a TV programme in the UK called The Great Pottery Throwdown, which is a reality TV show about pottery, and an ex-teammate of mine was in the first series, Matt Cronshaw, professional cyclist turned professional potter.
Cool story, bro.
Thanks.
Next up, this one came in from Tomo Arnold. 100-mile commute back issue solved. Cycled into work 49 miles just fine, having a change of clothes and a laptop in my locker at work, but unfortunately needed said items for working at home the next day. Halfway home, my back and shoulders were really starting to ache. So I managed to strap the bag onto my aero bars and computer on top of that, thinking it'll give my back a rest for a bit, but it worked, so I went with it for the rest of the ride. This is my only bike without pannier mounts too.
Well, I mean, I suppose you got to say if it works, right? The fact that they've said that it saved £20 in fuel is also an excellent thing. That's a hefty commute, 49 miles.
It's a big commute by bike, isn't it?
Yeah, so fair play to you. I think I'm going to have to say hack, even though it seems like a vastly inappropriate place to store a bag and a laptop.
Not really anywhere else. There's no other option, so I'm going to go hack as well.
Yeah.
We are just about in the majority side.
We are.
51% went with hack for that.
Yeah. No, that's cool. But yeah, fair play to you for a 100-mile round trip. Right, Lego Creator BA. That sounds quite intriguing, doesn't it? Side-by-side cargo tandem. I saw this amazing side-by-side tandem on my campus in Aarhus, which is in Denmark, thanks. Good geography knowledge there. And I couldn't help but send you the picture. The bike is owned by a local student bar for carrying lots of beers.
Hack.
There we go, yeah. Well, I tell you what, if you could bring that out to Austria for the GCN festival, maybe Dan, you could use it to cart.
I could do indeed.
Your brew dogs around.
You're going with hack for that as well?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Beer transportation by bike. It's got to be a hack. But 64% of you went with hack. 36% went with bodge. Strangely.
Weird. It's all about the last mile, isn't it?
Luke Sanders 30 DIY custom made frame bag. Decided to attempt a custom DIY frame bag, all handmade by myself. I enlisted the help of my dear old mum for the actual sewing bit.
What did you make then?
Just cut a few strips of fabric out and handed it over to his mum. Rather impressive how it all came out. To be fair, total cost is around 15 to 20 quid, can access both bottles, and it's like a TARDIS and can fit cavernous amounts of crap in that I probably don't need.
I like that. As much as I'm taking the mick out of you, getting your mum to make you a top tube bag, that is very cool. I like that.
Well, I think that the mum has done a brilliant job. It looks very neat, doesn't it?
It does look super neat, yeah. Right. I think the one thing for me is how bulbous is it. So I'm obsessed with the fact that I think fat frame bags give me knee pain. Yeah. So anyway, you might not have the same problem as me with my dicky knees, but I'm going to give that a hack. Full blown hack.
So I rub his ankles on them. Too big and too low, obviously. I'm going to go hack as well, as have 92% of voters.
Yeah, fair play too. Right, next one. We got this one from Mark R. Stokes. Ride London, electrical tape to the rescue. Got my bike surfaced the week before Ride London, but they decided not to tighten up the nuts on the crank. For the first 80-ish miles, the chain fell off every time I chased from big ring to little, but thought nothing of it until the little ring basically fell off at 80 miles and was held on by just one of the 4 bolts. Walked to the rest stop, saw some electrical tape to hold it together. Got me through the last 20 miles and home too. To be fair, size favourite, the cable tie would have been much better. Well, actually, in this instance, it might have been a bit better.
It might have been, yes. Well, I don't know what to say to that one. I mean, it looks like a complete bodge, but when you're in the middle of an event like that and just need to get to the finish, you'll do what you need to, won't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can just leave it in the big ring, can't you? So there you go. What a rubbish local bike shop, though. Or at least a mechanic needs to have a word with themselves.
To be fair, I once came back for the National Championships and a British cycling mechanic put my power meter cranks back on my bike with one crank like that and one crank like that. I had oval chainrings. I got on, I was like, these oval chainrings feel really weird today. And I realised the cranks just went on perpendicular to each other.
Quality. Yeah.
So it happens to the best mechanics in the world.
Well, it does indeed. Maybe they were too busy watching the Giro.
Probably, yes.
Concentrating on GCN Plus.
Right, don't forget that next week's hacks and bodges are already on the app for you to vote on, but if you'd like to get involved ready for 2 weeks' time, please do so by uploading your hacks or bodges to the GCN app.
It's time now for Caption Competition, that part of the show where you get a chance to get your hands on a coveted GCN Elite water bottle. A bottle so coveted that ours has gone walkabout.
We're going to enter Caption Competition this week, aren't we, to see if we can try and win one. So we've got one to show you. We think Sean Kelly nicked it, don't we?
Well, that's it, yeah, because the commentary booths are quite close in proximity to our hangout here, aren't they?
Snuck in here. Took our water bottle. Anyway, last week's caption photo was this one from the Giro d'Italia, Juan Pedro Lopez. The winner is Nathan Wilkinson with, gee, these pink jerseys fade fast.
I like that.
Very good.
That tickled me very much. Poor old Juanpe, looking a little bit upset, losing pink, getting a white one instead.
I think you'll look back with fond memories of that Giro.
I think
10 days in the pink jersey.
Yeah, right then, this week's photo is this one of Team EF rider sporting some fairly natty headgear.
And my caption is, new gravel bike helmet to be made compulsory to prove you're not taking things too seriously.
I like that, Dan. See how it related to the beginning of the GCN show as well, which is cool.
Neatly weaved all the way through.
Yeah, at first glance, it actually looks like one of those POC aero
doesn't it?
that would mean that you're taking gravel really, really seriously indeed. but yeah, oh dear me.
Right, leave your caption, should I say, in the comment section down below. We'll pick a winner next week. We've got some cracking comments to get through before we tell you what's coming up on GCN this week, starting with a couple underneath that steepest climb video. What expat put, love to see Andrew Feather give that a shot. A beast takes on a beast. That got 470 likes. And I do think that he'd walk up it far faster than Ollie walked up it, wouldn't he? Whilst Chrome Strand put, no matter how steep the hill is, it always looks like 3 or 4% on camera, except this. Now that is the hardest climb I've ever seen.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Ollie got a KOM up that climb, despite walking.
Did he?
Yeah, maybe it was just for like a segment of it or something. But yeah, have a look on Strava. That was some hill, wasn't it? Right under the GCN show last week, CDJ said, it seems that people thought Lycra was Connor's name.
Did they judge him rather than the Lycra, did they?
Yeah, they did, yeah. And then Pete Wilmot said, the cousins are back at it. Always brilliant to see Hank and Connor presented together whilst the parents go away on holiday. Do you think they're referring to us at that point? No, I was going to say that wouldn't be right, would it?
Some sort of joke we don't get.
Yeah.
And David Lloyd wrote, no relation by the way, my wife loves me in Lycra. Well, she smiles and laughs every time I wear it. That's good, right? Meanwhile, underneath how to choose the right wheels with Alex, Richard Esper, Alex is a great presenter. I don't even turn on closed captioning for him in Texas.
Who do you have to caption, just out of interest, Richard?
I like the way you said that slowly. Who do you have to caption out of interest?
Yeah, David Burkers, by the way, just wanted to say hats off to Alex's bike handling skills. So, which is fair.
Hats off.
Yeah. And then lastly, under 7 foods you shouldn't eat on a bike, Hank has made a name for himself by doing incredibly tough things for this show, according to Rich Nerd. But eating that aubergine like an apple has made me convinced that he's an absolute beast of a man. Yes.
I hear Hank had his top off whilst Ollie was going up that steep climb.
Yes, I believe he did. I don't know why he's not
surprised. Does not surprise me.
Yeah.
Right, coming up on the channel this week then, on Wednesday, we're going to show you how to travel with your bike. I'm going to watch that because I still dread packing my bike. I think it's just the thought of how long it's going to probably take me, but it probably shouldn't take me as long as it does.
Yeah.
Thursday, 8 little known facts about cycling. On Friday, Manon recreates a record-breaking ride from the 1900s.
Yeah, this is bonkers, right? So the record for London to Brighton, which is a fairly iconic cycle ride here in the UK, was set by a woman, and then because she was a woman, she wasn't allowed to have the record.
No.
Yeah, isn't that bonkers? So anyway, Manon's gonna get it, but in period correct dress and on a period correct bike. So anyway, watch with interest. On Saturday is how to get started with a power meter, and then on Sunday, I'm not sure how many of you know about this, but Mark Beaumont is tackling the race across America for GCN and GCN Plus, along with GCN Plus presenter Jonathan Schubert. That starts next week, I believe, and so we've got a video coming up this weekend that lifts the lid, basically, and tells you what they've been doing for the last 6 months to get ready for it.
Has Mark Beaumont got what it takes to
Well,
ride across
indeed.
America?
Yeah.
We'll find out. Right, that is the end of this week's GCN show. Don't forget to tell us your thoughts on the seriousness of gravel and what to do with the future of gravel racing in the comments down below. We'll look forward to reading all of those.
Can you send Sean Kelly a text now and get that?
I will do, yeah.